Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Unofficial Ignition podcast. My name is Jonas, and today I will be talking with Grisbel, one of the team members in Enuda. Grisbel is a SCADA systems expert and an ignition coder. And on top of that, she has shown a talent for teaching ignitions to others. And that has been a great help for the clients that we work with, so they get better insights into what we're trying to help them with. Enjoy the episode. So what was your first encounter with Enuda? Where did it start?
When I first met Anuda, you mean?
Yeah, the company. Yeah.
Well, I think it was 2 years ago, more or less. I was finishing my master's degree on data science, and then one day I got a message from Jan saying, "Hi, we are interested in you," and I was like, "Oh, yes," because I was trying to find a job related to SCADA systems, because that's related to my career and my studies at university. So that's a part of the job that I like the most, SCADA systems.
Cool. And what previous experience do you have in? Do you come from a engineer background or?
Yes. I studied mechatronics engineering
Mm,
in my own country, and then I worked for a company, for the oil company of my country. So
cool.
back then I worked with SCADA systems too. Yeah. So I really like this part of this area of the engineering.
And what? So it's interesting that you worked with SCADA system before. What do you see the difference between ignition and other systems?
It's a huge difference.
Okay.
Yeah, first, with SCADA systems, it's like a pact. You get the PLC, you get the protocols of communication, and you get the SCADA system. And it's more or less like a pact where you program the PLC, and then you can program your SCADA. But with ignition, it's different because you can take any PLC from any brand, and you can integrate it to your SCADA system in ignition. You cannot, or as far as I know, you cannot do that with other brands. It's more like locked in, or key in hand, we will say it in Spanish. It's like
Right.
you don't have access to modify some things.
Okay.
Ignition, you have a lot of flexibility.
And is that your favorite thing, or does it become complicated as well that you can do anything?
I don't know. When I first started working with PLC and programming, since this PLC or this system was from a recognized brand, they had their own software to make the programming, their own platform, let's say. But with Ignition, you can just use Python, you can use SQLs. So it's very flexible. You don't have to learn how exactly to code this PLC, and then you will move that to your SCADA. With Ignition, it's like you build with Python, that is very universal, and then you can just grab things from your PLC. It's very flexible, and also it's very good way to learn.
So it's
You don't have to be like locked in just one,
yeah.
let's say, language of coding.
Yeah, so you can be more creative in a sense when you build the system.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, exactly.
Cool. And so what do you do on a day-to-day basis? How do you work with Ignition?
Well, it depends on the task I have, of course, but it will be more. Yeah.
Yeah, you started 2 years ago, right? And then so how has it evolved, the whole thing? What is your main thing?
Yeah, well, I started like learning the basics of Ignition, taking the courses, watching the videos, taking the exams, and then I started like go with little projects, little sprints, so I can develop myself, my programming skills. And yeah, through all the way, I've learned more of Python, more of SQLs, more of Ignition as it works now. And yeah, right now my day to day is like take a task and then just jump to it and solve it.
Have a good overview of Ignition and just start from one end
Come again?
and have a the big overview of Ignition and work through problems and
Yeah.
projects.
Yes, exactly.
So when did that start to translate into you training clients?
Yeah, I am actually not sure about when it started, but I remember we got a new, let's say, a new client. Well, it was the same client, but the client hired a new person, a new young man,
Hmm.
and he didn't know anything about ignition, and
And I guess
probably
he was hired to, be an Ignition person, or how did that go?
he was hired to be part of the ignition team
Hmm.
because this company is trying to develop their own SCADA system, like moving from an old SCADA system to ignition.
Right.
And he was.
Right. And then you got the task of learning Ignition to him from the beginning, right? Or how was that?
Yeah, yeah, that was exactly what happened. He didn't know anything about ignition, and I think he didn't know much about SCADA systems either. So
Okay.
from the beginning, it was like, okay, I had to work with him, but he didn't knew anything. So what could I do?
Mm.
I didn't like thought of myself like a teacher, but then I started to teach things about ignition, like from the beginning. What is the SCADA system? How does it work?
Mm.
How is it? What's a PLC?
Mm.
Um,
Okay.
how to program some sort of things in ignition. Mhm.
Yeah. So you started from the bottom and just moved
Yeah,
along
yeah,
as.
from the very bottom, I think. And it's also the same with some other co-workers we have in the team. Like sometimes I had to explain something from people that is not coming from engineering's background.
Mm.
It's like to teach them how this works in the real world, but with much more simple words, you know.
And is that because Ignition encompasses more than just engineering, or why do you think a lot of non-engineers are trying to get interested in this now?
Uh, I think it's not just because of ignition, because you can work with ignition without knowing much more about SCADA system, because
Mm.
ignition is also used to build HMIs and MES system. But
Mm.
with our clients, we've been building SCADA system. So you need to know, like for example, in what level is the PLC, then communications and
Mm.
some other things until you get to the real SCADA system, so you can watch your screen and start to seeing what's in your all your values and your alarms and all your colors, your pop-ups. So, but that has a lot of backgrounds, like
Mm.
the very bottom where your bulb could be, or your transmitters, or your all your instrumentation, your equipment.
Right. And so when
Mhm.
you try to learn people all these Ignition skills, do you do it on a daily basis or weekly basis or monthly basis, or how do you approach the whole training process?
Well, we can start with a small task, like I don't know, like I want to see a value from a PLC in my screen.
Right.
It seems simple, but it's not. So the first thing will be like grabbing the tag, or you find the tag. You have to create a display, maybe. Oh, you have to put your display on your screen. Then you have to start making your bindings so you can actually read values in your screen from your PLC.
Hmm.
So it will be like more or less starting with the small part of the task,
Right.
the smooth, we will say, and then growing and growing and growing until
Hmm.
you achieve like something.
So it would be a very close relationship to begin with, where a tiny increment of a task is you state that to the person, and then it goes back and forth when they've sort of figured it out.
Yeah, in my experience, is like I first look at the task. I design the task in my mind. I know now what things I need, what components, what code, and when I have everything designed, and sometimes on paper or even by coding, then I start to like delegating. Like, oh, you can start doing this, and once you are finished, you can move to this. But I know what will happen when I tell these people what to do.
Okay.
It's like it's not like, okay, we led this to the destiny. No. Yeah, I first do all the tasks myself. If it is a not super huge task.
Sure. Cool. So how long did it take him to get into it? How long did you guys how long did you teach him before he was sort of like he could talk with people about Ignition and figure out what projects actually was about?
Yeah, it took some months, like 3-4 months.
Okay,
For him
that's pretty quick, isn't it?
Yeah, to start like building something that actually works. But during those months, we kept a lot of communication. It was like talking every day. And he works in a work schedule, you will say, like from 7 to 3.
Okay.
And I'm more or less working during the same time. So for us, it's like just pinging in the chat, like talking about what do you need to do. He will ask some questions.
Right.
He will always ask for help,
Yeah.
how to solve it, if this is alright, or how can I do it. And then I was just there doing my own work, but also helping him to develop and trying to accomplish the task.
And what kind of do you use any tools to help people? Do you refer them to the university, for example, or so? What kind of tools do you use with the?
Yeah, sometimes I know it's much more effective for people to watch a video where someone's explaining you what you need to know at that moment. So in this case, I myself went through all the courses in Ignition and watched the videos and watched everything. So I know more or less where are the answers to the questions we have now.
Right.
So I use a lot of Ignition users manual, a lot of Ignition videos, and for training courses, and also the Ignition forum. It helps a lot because when you have a question, you can just type your question there, like how to do
Right.
a building, and then there will be thousands of answers to that, and you can read it, and some will match with your question, some will be for a different question, but you can actually find a lot of answers there in the forum.
Cool. So if you're not available, people can actually find out the answer for themselves.
Exactly.
If they wanted to.
If they want. Sometimes I try to push them more like, okay, you should look in the user manuals, you should look in the forum. Because that's how I learned too. In Ignition. There won't be like always somebody to help you, but you will actually find help somewhere else.
How do you think you started out with a concrete plan to train people, or does it sort of go along with how do you feel the person reacts to the task you give them and all that?
Yeah, it also depends in the person. There will be more like shy people, I would say. They won't talk too much to me. They will try to find the answers by themselves. That's fine. But if you have the help available, it will be much faster if you ask. So I forgot your question.
No, it's more, is it like a strict training course, or do you mix it up depending on the person you're training?
Yeah, it will be a mix depending on the person. It will be a mix. If they know something about SCADA systems, if they know how a PLC works, if they know to code, if they know how to create queries in SQL, it depends on their background, and it also depends a little bit on their personality. Some people, as I said, will try to find the answers by themselves, but it will be a mix where my first focus is to complete the task we have. And I will do all what we need to guide this person to complete this task. And during the process, the person will learn features of Ignition. Yeah.
Cool.
Mm.
Do you see yourself doing this more? Is it fun to you?
Yeah, sometimes working remotely, even when I work in the regular office, you don't have much contact with your coworkers because they are probably in a different time zone or stuff like that. But with teaching, you will always have someone to talk to, and that helps me also to refresh my knowledge with Ignition and to sometimes to practice things that I've learned some time ago, and I need to refresh that. So yeah, I I like this. I like to do this, and I would like to do it more and more in the future.
Cool. So you find that you actually get better yourself by teaching Ignition,
Yeah,
to others?
yeah, exactly. One of the best parts of this is that every client is different, every task is different, every approach is different. So every time you have to develop your skills to achieve something. So when I have to teach someone, I also have to teach myself
Right. That makes a lot
because
of sense.
there will be things that I don't know how to do at that moment.
Cool. Is
Yes.
there anything else you'd like to add, or?
Um. Yeah. No, I think we went through everything, right?
Yeah, me too.
Mm.
Cool. Well, thank you, and
Thank you very
have a
much.
nice day.
You too.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.